All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Be a Warrior podcast. I'm Angie, and today we start April, and that is Limb Loss, Limb Awareness Month. And I am so excited. This year, I decided that we are going to really go in and get into the universities, see these students that have been working really hard to make the future of amputee life that much better and that much more glorious. And so today, my very first guest for Limb Loss Awareness Month for 2025, I have two students from Colorado State University, Eric and Garrison. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very
Hi, thank
much.
you
It's
for
an honor
having
to be
me.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you were able to come on, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are doing and how quickly I met you all, like on social media, right? I think basically it came down to I saw you guys trying to get out there and go, hey, do we have anybody that's local that wants to try out what we're working on? But before we jump into what you're working on, I really want people to kind of get to know who you guys are, where you come from, um, and then what brought you to where you're at right now. So either one of you can start, give us a little bit of detail about your childhood, where you grew up, what you love doing, and where you're at now.
Garrison, you want to kick us off?
Sure,
All
sure.
right.
I'm Garrison. I decided to go to Colorado State University 2019. So I'm kind of a super senior there, if you want to say. I've been there for 6 years. I'm ready to be done, I think. But basically, the biggest reason why I went to Colorado State at the time was because I really wanted to figure out how to do prosthetics. I have a prosthetic myself. I'm a Van Ness rotation plasty, so I have a really strange surgery that's kind of hard to figure out, and a lot of the technology for it has been the same since the surgery was invented in the 70s. And so I really wanted to see a change in that. And so that was kind of the whole reason why I decided to go into biomedical engineering at CSU. And I had been accepted to other colleges around the country, and I decided to stay one close to home because home is where the heart is. But I also decided to go to Colorado State because they had just started investing in this biomedical program, and it was really starting to take off. It was state of the art, and they had really good professors and really good reputation at the time, and still do. And so I decided to take my chances there, and I'm glad that I did because that's kind of how I decided to start this project with my now group, with my senior design team. We're trying to make something that no one has ever done before. So
Excellent. So you said you are from Colorado originally, born and raised?
yeah, yeah. Well, I was actually born in Oregon, but we
Okay.
moved out here to Colorado in Aurora when I was like 2 years old. So I count myself as born and raised pretty much.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
lived in Aurora for a long time, and now I'm living in kind of the middle of nowhere, Walsenburg. So
okay.
yeah,
And can you explain a little bit about your amputation? Are you an AK?
that's
Or okay,
that's the
so
hard thing.
you
Yeah,
used a
so
very large term that I didn't understand. So I am assuming that people are listening have no idea what you went through. So could you
yeah,
explain a little bit about that?
yeah. It's a little difficult to visualize, especially if you can't see it. But I'll do my best to kind of explain it. And I'm happy to show later. But basically, the Van Ness rotation plasty was a surgery invented in the 70s, and basically, hey, what happens if you have a part of the leg that is no longer functional, but the rest of it is functional? Say, for me, I had cancer in my knee at 6 years old, but the bottom part of my leg was still functional. It was just fine. And so they call it a limb salvage surgery
Mm.
because what they did is they amputated. You can consider this joint here is my knee. They amputated higher up here on this side, and then just below where the hinge is here, and they turned it around 180 degrees and then reattached it to the upper thigh up here,
Wow.
and got rid of the diseased part, which is the knee. And so it's difficult because I don't have a knee, so technically I would be considered a below the knee, but I have a functioning joint there that's actually my ankle. I don't know if I can pull it up
I
well enough,
I know
but
exactly what you're saying now. So
yeah,
they used your ankle joint as a knee joint,
yeah, yep, exactly.
basically. So you're
Yeah,
considered below knee, but not really.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's even difficult in competition because they're like, what do we class you as? Because it's really difficult to tell. So yeah,
You're like, I'll just take gold. I'll
yeah,
just
yeah,
take.
yeah. It's like yeah,
There's nobody else in my classification.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay. Well, and
Yeah,
you and really quick before we move on to Eric, then, so that happened. You were about 6, you said,
yeah. I was 6 years old. Well, I
and
was 5 when I was diagnosed, and 6 when I had the amputation.
I am assuming even for you at that age, which wasn't that long ago when you were 6 compared to some of us, that there's been such a huge jump in what's going on in the prosthetic world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the prosthetic world, there's I mean, it's leaps and bounds, especially for like above the knee and below the knee. You know, the regular. Well, I don't want to say regular. The
Right, I know.
more common type of amputations have really seen. I've seen motorized ankles where they get like 10,000 feet of torque just out of the ankle. I'm like, man, that's crazy. So there's a
Right.
whole lot of new stuff that's going on, and I'm like, man, it's really difficult because someone like me who's really niche doesn't
Mhm.
always have access to some of those really cool technologies, and so that was kind of the driving force for me at least. But yeah, technology has really exploded the last few years for
Oh,
sure.
sure. And when did you get into like the Paralympian trials and stuff? You were in track and field.
Yeah, yeah. So I did that pretty young. My parents they wanted me to stay active after my amputation, as good parents do. They were like, "Hey, this isn't a hindrance. You should do what you want." I started in soccer when I was very young, and I started skiing very, very young because as a Colorado kid, you have to ski.
Yep.
Uh, and then I started getting pretty good at some things. So I made a select league in soccer, and then that same year, they actually changed soccer so that it was they had two where it was I think it was cerebral palsy,
Mhm.
those with lesser abilities out of their limbs, but not amputees. And then the amputees would have to be on crutches. And so I was
Yep.
like, I want to use my leg. I have it for a reason. So I think about 12 years old, my dad, when I started middle school, my dad started throwing me into track, and I did a debut disabled athlete competition where there was a gal who was actually ranked. She was like number two in for females above the knee, and so I
Mhm.
ran against her, and I ended up winning the meet. And my dad was like, "Huh, how fast really are you?" So that's when we started getting into Paralympics and stuff like that. So it's been a long time coming for me. I've been out of it for a little while because I'm really focused on trying to do the best that I can in college and then making sure I have a good future for myself. But I'll get back into it eventually.
I love it. That's awesome. Woo. Woo. All right, Eric, how about you? Tell me a little bit about your growing up and how it led you here to meeting Garrison and doing what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Eric Gutierrez Camacho, and I'm a fifth year student at CSU, and I'm studying biomedical and mechanical engineering. I'm enrolled in their dual degree program, so in May I'll be walking with 2 bachelor's degrees, which is super exciting. And so, the how I selected CSU and the degrees that I chose was, growing up, I had bowed legs, just like naturally from when I was born. And so my mom always noticed that like I would walk funny, and so we had that checked out. And it turns out that that's something that could develop into like arthritis in the knees. And so it was important that we had that addressed as soon as possible. And so like at 9 years old, I had my first surgery. I had 8 plates installed into like my knees. And so as I grew, it's considered a guided growth surgery. As you grow, it pushes your knees outward. And so, yeah, over the years, I had those in my knees, and I eventually got corrected. And so, yeah, that sort of like inspired me throughout my career path. I always really enjoyed STEM, like mathematics. I always finished my math boxes first in elementary school, and so it was just something I was very passionate about. And then that experience really opened my eyes to the type of like medical technologies that we have out there. and being able to like advance those sorts of technologies. And so as soon as I graduated high school, yeah, I applied to all the colleges I could. And originally I had my eyes set on mines, Colorado School of Mines, but I got accepted into there, but ultimately I just preferred the atmosphere that CSU offers and the dual degree program that they had. I thought it really aligned with my interests. And so, yeah, I've been here for 5 years and almost done. So very excited about that.
Now, you told me you were first generation born here. Were
Mhm.
you born in Colorado, or were you born another state?
Yeah, I was born in Montrose, Colorado, so it's over on the western slope. Whenever I ask people if they know about Montrose, a lot of the time it's no, and so I'm like, it's just an hour south of Grand Junction, and so I'm
Okay.
out on the western slope out in that area.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's great. Okay, so and at first I thought, because I've only talked to you and seen you here, and I thought, wait,
Uh-huh.
is he an amputee too? Because I knew that Garrison, you were an amputee. Let's just quote unquote that. But all right, so guys, let's just get into this. Like, I'm really intrigued, to the point where Garrison, I don't know if Eric told you about our Zoom call, but I was like, dudes, you guys got to figure out how to get that foot down here, because I'm always looking. Like, I'm really active. I hike, I ski, I surf, I do all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm always looking for a return on my foot, because the first one I had, and I believe this is just part of progression, and I trust my prosthetists. I love them. You start with, I had a knee because I'm an AK, um,
Okay.
6 years ago. And it was an elected one after a karate accident and many surgeries. But I know that having to learn to walk with a new knee, they don't really worry about the ankle at this point. Two joints is a lot for
Right.
someone to handle. So my very first one, didn't realize it because I was so focused on just the movement of the hip, right? Getting my knee through. There was zero return on my ankle, none. And I didn't know it till 3 years in, when they finally said, all right, time for a new knee. I just got the same C leg, but we're going to get you the ankle you need so that you can put on your cowboy boots, you can wear high heels, you can go barefoot, you can wear gym shoes, doesn't matter. And I shift it, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like there was like so much more return. And then I see your foot, I'm like, I think I'm going to hate my ankle if I ever get to try yours, because it looks like, I was watching the video you sent me. It really looks like it bounds. It just has that energy return that would make it so much easier not to have to lug through a step. So tell me a little bit about, how long ago did this start? Is this your project? What can you tell us right now? I know that some stuff, because it is a competitive field, I understand. So, anybody listening, sometimes they can't share all the stuff, but we'll see what we can get out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. The way it first started for me, I don't know if you have this problem, but personally, my problem was every single time I would get a foot, the first thing that would wear out for me is the foot shell. You would just cut right through it. And I personally, since I was in soccer and stuff like that, when I would kick things, obviously it would shove that toe into the end of the foot, and I'd break right through the toes. With there's the carbon fiber insert in there would just break right through. And so I was spending my parents, because that's not covered as part of the insurance or warranty thing. They're like, hey, is your foot still working? Just buy a new foot shell. So after that
Mhm.
first year, it's just not covered. So my parents would be paying $500 every other year for a foot shell, and I was like, man, and it's really, the foot shell is just something that they put on the
It's,
outside to protect
it's
your shoe.
cosmetic.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't support you,
no.
and so the way I kind of talked with my team, I'm like, guys, I think we have the ability to do something special here, because there's a part of this that I think could be really supportive,
Mhm.
but it's currently just not doing anything. And so that was kind of how we transitioned to what we're calling an active response foot shell. And so it's something that actively responds and actively has energy return, instead of just kind of a dead piece of rubber. So that's kind of how we started. And then we said, man, we could just do the entire foot. So
Yeah, I was
kind
gonna
of,
say, it's not a shell, right? It actually is built around the connector, I guess you would say, to the pylon, right?
Yeah. It's formed around, and that's kind of the idea, the whole idea of the project. And Eric, he's kind of our he's our design expert for that. He was in charge of making sure that everything worked together. But yeah, the foot shell will kind of form around the insert, what we call the insert. That's just carbon fiber foot part. It
Okay.
forms around it, and then it just right on top of your regular hardware, your regular foot hardware, the pylon and then the pyramid adapters all work just as normally as they should.
I
So
do.
oh, go ahead, Eric.
I
Yeah.
do have a slide here that I could share with you guys. I could
Yeah.
share the screen and we could discuss a little bit more about the
Sure.
product itself.
That'd be awesome.
It
Yeah.
says that host disabled attendee screen sharing.
All right. Multiple. There we go. I think I can do that. Did that work?
There we go. That's perfect.
There you go.
Here we go. So Garrison, yeah, you can describe a little bit more about that foot with the picture if that helps.
Yeah, so you can actually see in that picture in the top left corner, you can see all the geometry there. That's there. Like usually it's just a rubber thing that you put on. Each individual part of that foot shell is latticed. It's a lattice structure, and what it does, you can imagine like a bridge or something else with a lattice like structure. It's meant to kind of bend and give and then respond based on certain outside forces. And so that was the whole idea. So the nice thing about this, because it's all 3D printed technology and it's something that our team is really trying to improve upon in the field of prosthetics. Since it's all out there, it's all 100% personal. So it's customizable to the person who wants it. So that one that you see right there is customized to me. But say what size shoe do you wear?
I'm 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5, and I'm sitting at a 10 for males. So obviously there's a slight difference there. What we would do is we would size that down to your size, to your height, and to your activity level, and we would actually reinforce that foot. So I don't know if you have this problem as well, but when I take off my shoes, my foot feels super clunky walking around the
Oh, it
house.
is. My husband can hear me walking. He's like, thunk,
Yeah,
thunk, thunk,
there's no
thunk.
sneaking around. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what ours also fixes. It's soft and it's able to kind of cushion you as well.
Can it do
So
the heel toe movement then? Does it give to a heel toe?
absolutely. Yeah, and so we actually did a gait lab test. Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about that gait lab test?
Yeah. So before I move on to the testing, I do want to point out that with the manufacturing methods that we're doing, we're doing different forms of 3D printing, additive manufacturing. And so that black foot that you see is our melt extrusion foot. And so we make those out of 3D printers that you pretty much see like everywhere. They're very widely used. And I actually have it there in the corner if you could see that in the background. And so, yeah, that's my Creality K1 printer. And so we push, the way that works is we just push material through a hot nozzle and we do it layer by layer until you get the shape that you designed on the computer. And then that top foot, the blue one, is our binder jetted foot. And so that one is a little more expensive to produce. We use polymer like powder material to be able to create that foot. And the working principle behind that method is just it's completely different from melt extrusion. And so, yeah, we have 2 prototypes that we've created so far. And the top one, you could tell it's a lot more high quality, a lot more high resolution. Like the details in there are infinitely better than the melt extrusion ones. But there's trade-offs with that. It's more expensive to produce versus that black melt extrusion foot. It's going to be a lot more inexpensive relatively to that other one. But there is low quality. You can kind of see the layer lines within the picture. You can see each individual layer, yeah. And so, we're really trying to target. We're trying to improve the melt extrusion foot, and then as we grow as a company, we want to start pushing out more of these feet because they're more high quality and I've interviewed with a lot of amputees, and some women have said that they would really enjoy having a foot that they can use with heels. And so, but you can't really use this sort of foot shape, the more traditional foot shape with a heel. And so that's where like computer aided modeling could really help us create a solution like that, where if you want a heel foot, then we can make you a heel foot. And so,
Right. Right.
very exciting stuff. But
Well,
as far as, sorry, go ahead.
what is the weight difference comparative to what I would have on now? Is
Yeah,
it
that was one of the big things that we also talked about as a team. There isn't, and we want to change this too, but there isn't actually a whole lot of data that supports, hey, is it better to have heavier or is it better to have lighter feet? And so what I kind of told, because you and I are both amputees,
yeah.
I like light feet personally.
Why would I want more weight? I already have a heavy socket and a knee joint that's electric that's I have to carry.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was our thinking. So compared to a regular foot, we're sitting about a half a pound, if not a little bit more,
Mhm.
lighter. That's the nice thing with the foot that we have, because we're using such innovative 3D printing models. We're actually able to have less material there to do the same job. So we're looking at a similar reactivity and a similar force absorption model out of less material. So it's lighter, and then the foot shell itself is also lighter. So you end up getting a foot that's sitting at, what did we say it was? It was a pound and something.
And some change. Yeah, it's been a minute since we
Pound and
weighed
some
it,
change.
but yeah.
Yeah. So
And is it
like,
made, so is it made with the major, like if I were to take my foot shell off,
mm,
that base is inside your 3D printed, correct? Is
yeah.
that,
So yeah, exactly. And Eric, you can actually talk a little bit more about how we're able to model over that insert.
but
Yeah,
does
yeah.
that insert, does that come apart or is that like glued together, so to speak? Is it one
No.
unit now?
At MediFlex Prosthetics, we hate glue. Like we want to make it completely modular so you could take it apart. And as you put cycles on your prosthetic foot, the bottom of it is really going to wear down.
Mm.
But traditionally, as of right now, you have to replace the whole foot just because it's very difficult. It's not really modular, like modern prosthetics. And so our solution is like you can wear down that bottom piece of the foot and you could just replace the bottom part because the top lattice is going to be pretty much intact, and so you can continuously use that until it fails due to fatigue. And so, yeah, we're really addressing that cost solution through our modularity. And so the way that we designed it was I'm currently employed with a 3D printing company. It's 3D Systems. And so their Littleton office here in Colorado focuses on providing additive manufacturing solutions for like virtual surgical planning. And so they're basically like one of the big things that they do is they take like CT scans of patients and they create titanium guides and models of the patient using their anatomy to be able to model off of. And so you're able to create these like guides that are tailored specifically to each person's bones, since we're all very, very different. And so it speeds up the process for surgery with the surgeons. They're able to help more people, and so yeah, everybody really wins with that. And so
Yes.
with their help with 3D Systems, I've been able to use their technology since I'm still currently working with them part time. And so I actually have the device right here, and I can kind of show it. I just have to transition a little bit. It's called the Touch X haptic device, and so it looks like that. And so basically, it's a pen that you're able to 3D model with using the software called Freeform. And each joint here has a motor in it that allows you to have haptic feedback. So when you push on clay that's shown on the screen, the motor in here and here will physically prevent you from like going further. And so we're really able to create organic shapes with this technology. And one of the things that we had in mind as well was utilizing similar methods where we scan a patient's residual limb and then we can create like a socket that's tailored specifically to their residual limb. And so that's a little bit about the design, the design process. And you get something a little like this. This is our a melt extrusion part for one of our feet.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah. So
And
it's nice because you're able to kind of take out a little piece, say something breaks, you're
yeah,
able to replace it a lot easier. Like, I don't know, you've probably seen, have you ever tried taking off your own foot shell
I
off of a
won't. My
foot?
husband's like, don't, you're going to break it because it's impossible.
It's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah,
And
no,
and
I've
so
never.
that's the nice thing about this. We're still working through some of the design aspects of it, but the ability to kind of take little things out, replace it, and put it back not only makes it easier on someone else to work on their own feet, because after a certain number of years, you and I were just as much experts on what
Yeah,
our foot needs and what we
yeah,
need
right,
as some of the prostheticians out there who don't have an amputation. We have to
right,
explain why we need these things.
right.
And
Yeah.
so if you're like, you know what, and that's what we're hoping for eventually, if we were to become a company, obviously right now we're just a senior design team. What we
Yeah.
would do is we would offer modular parts. You'd be able to say, hey, I just need this part. And we would be able to give it to you for a fraction of the cost. So
Sure.
say you wanna replace your foot insert. Say you're like, hey, I put on a little bit more muscle. I'm a little bit more burly now. I need something that will actually take that weight so I don't break my foot, because that's what I'm worried about.
Right.
If you actually look at our costs of how much it takes to make a foot insert, we might even be able to offer someone a brand new foot insert, which is kind of the core of a foot, for $100, $150, which is insane in the foot world. Yeah, just
Well,
I
and
don't
it would
know if
be tailored to them specifically, and it wouldn't take as long
yeah,
to create it,
yes,
correct? You're just
exactly.
plugging in numbers to a already created system of equations, right? That will create.
It could be
Wow.
same week delivery. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
Which is
that's
vital, right? If we break something, like I don't want to be without my leg for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And so that's that, like you were saying, that's kind of our modular aspect, but at the same time, it's solid so that you
Mm,
don't have to worry, hey, is my foot going to fall apart? No.
right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so going to this, now was this your guys' design at the very beginning of going into your now master's, right? Is this a part of a project for your degree that you have to, but you're taking further? Like it's not just a project, it is literally a life thing you want to work with. Is that true?
Yeah, I think we Garrison he started the MediFlex prosthetics team well before the senior design. We transitioned into a senior design project, and so Garrison had that like entrepreneurial mindset before we even like started as a senior design group. And so we've been going through CSU through a class like I'm taking a course right now called Technology Entrepreneurship, and so
Mhm.
we're learning how to handle the business side of things, and then utilizing our senior design course to be able to graduate because it's a part of the requirements. You have to
Right.
complete your capstone, and so
Yep.
it's just very beneficial. Like overall, like we're able to check off that list for our degrees, but we're also kind of developing this company at the same time. And so
Wow.
it's been working out really well. And yeah, we have a group of 5 right now in our senior design team, and things are going smoothly.
Yeah.
So
And
this,
everybody in the team, just to clarify, we are all just bachelor students. So none of us are masters. None of us are
okay.
necessarily what people would consider professionals. But you're right. Absolutely. We are innovating, in my opinion, obviously, as an amputee, um, we're innovating at a level that I would consider to be master's level candidacy. Like we're doing something that most manufacturing plants haven't ever even considered. And
No,
so
right.
I'm super stoked anytime I work with these guys because they come up with something and I'm like, you guys are geniuses. Like, how did you come up with that?
Right.
Like, no one's doing that yet. So I'm really proud of them and how far they've taken it. I might have had kind of a small idea of what I thought might work well, but they've really taken it above and beyond that, and they've really accelerated it for sure.
That is so cool. And I think if I'm not mistaken, after talking to Eric before, this is something that are you both going to be graduating this May? And are you
And
going to take this as a company? Are you going to LLC it or what are you doing? What's the
Yeah,
next
no,
step?
yeah,
that's a great question. Yeah.
yeah,
We're working towards our bachelor's, so we're undergraduates students right now. And then yeah, this was a started off as a senior design team, and we played with the idea that we can make this into a company since the beginning. But as of recently, we're officially like MediFlex Prosthetics LLC. We filed with the state of Colorado, and so we're officially recognized as like a company now. Are we pulling in crazy numbers for like revenue? Not yet, but well, I think we do plan to like carry the torch into like a company after we graduate, and so we want to stick together and make this a thing, you know.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. A lot of the reason why we all kind of matched so well on this team is because we all had a similar idea where we were like, we could, even if this doesn't necessarily make us money, there's a point at which there's a spot in which the market isn't covering. People need this and no one's making it. So why aren't we the company who makes something for everybody? So absolutely, we want to stick together and we want to make a company. But unfortunately, we're all college students, so none of us really have the funding to be able to kind of head that. But yeah, I mean, we at the end of the semester, this semester for our group, we might have a conversation where we go, hey, do we want to accelerate this? Do we want to make this work? Absolutely, and we'll definitely have that conversation because I think people could use the technology that we're coming up with, and especially since right now, like Eric said, we have created an LLC for the name and for the company, and we're actually working on patenting. It's patent pending right now. That design. So
Yeah.
absolutely, we want to take it further. We just kind of have to see how things go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it goes to funding. Like, where do you find that? How does that work for young guys that have been really I mean, you may have a job on the side, but your focus is your education right now. So it's not like you
Absolutely.
all are packing in millions of dollars because you have a job right now. But how do you get the funding? What's the next step for something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of it is going to be partnerships, and there are you probably know, being an amputee yourself, there are a
Mhm.
lot of people who want to invest in something like this where you can continue to grow as an amputee and find better technologies, because as of right now, there's like two or three really big companies who run the entire
Huge.
market. Yeah,
Yes, they.
yeah, they're enormous. And so any type of entrepreneurial mindset that goes into prosthetics, when people actually know what they're doing, people get excited. They go, "Ooh, actually, hey, give me your number." So
Yeah.
we're hoping for that, but there are also, and I'm going to give a few shout outs. I hope that's okay.
Go for it.
There are foundations out there who are actually willing to help support. So you look at someone like Jordan Thomas Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a
Mhm.
double amputee. He lost his legs in a boating accident, both of them below the knee. And what he does is he tries to make prosthetics easier to access for those who are of lower income and children. And so I've been in contact with him, and he said, "Hey, when you get there, hit me up. Like, I'd love to become a partner with you guys, and we can work with my foundation to get these kids better feet too." And so there's avenues that we're exploring, absolutely. But again, going back to, hey, there's these two really big companies. We have to be
Mhm.
careful because they might come after us and be like, "Hey, we want to buy you guys up."
Right.
Yeah.
True. And yeah, then you have to decide where you're at with all that. Because if this is your
Mm,
passion and you can see it growing, because something new is going to come out in the technology world that you can use to
mm.
even improve more on your design. And your design will keep improving as you're going deeper and seeing how it works with certain people doing certain activities. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it going to be, I would assume it's a waterproof foot. I mean, so for BKs that works, AKs not so much because I'd have to have my water leg on, but this what I have right now is not a water leg. The big companies won't, the insurance companies won't give me the nicer one. So,
Of course.
and that brings me to my next question, because I have worked with people and talked to people that when they've invented something, now this is outside the US, they were creating and marketing straight to the consumer, us. No insurance involved. How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I think you would be a good person to tackle this as well, Garrison.
um, a lot of these more technical things, I'm definitely more not necessarily in charge of, but I'm at least the person kind of spearheads it to begin with. Because like you and I both know, we know that there's a lot of intricacies in prosthetics. Like one of the things that we are kind of working through is like clinics like Hanger
Hmm.
are a little bit more difficult to get in with their prostheticians, because if you don't offer insurance and all of those other things, there's liability involved. And so if there's no one there to take the liability, the prostheticians won't touch it. They'll be like, hey, I don't want to adjust it, because if it breaks, it's on me, and I don't want that to be on me. And so, yeah, there's a lot we're working through right now, but we're also working through legalities and things like that. But it would be really nice if one day people could just buy it with or without insurance. Obviously, they'd put in their insurance information into our website, and they just fill that out, and it would be either approved by insurance, more like a prescription, where you would go to a doctor or a prosthetician in this case, and you'd say, hey, I have this problem. Can I get approved? But if you don't want to go through that whole process, you can just pay out of pocket. And again, these things out of pocket for replacements and even the foot itself is going to be more inexpensive than any other option out there. And so we do want that to be available. If you're like, hey, I know myself, I know how to fix my own prosthetic, I know how to get myself all angled, absolutely. Obviously, there'd be kind of a liability waiver that we would go along with that. But some people, like you said, they want to use their foot specifically for surfing or for water sports. And so if you want to have a specific foot, sometimes the best way to do it is just to buy the foot yourself, and to have something as high end as our foot to be available at the cost that it is. That's something we're absolutely shooting for. But we also want to make it even more affordable in including insurance as well. So we're working through that. I think that's a lot more work that we would have to do as a business in the future, but we can see some pathways. Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
it is. I would think it's very tricky, and I would think that might actually inhibit people from taking what they've done as capstone type stuff in their education and bringing it into the world, because there are so many little things you've got to navigate, and the monsters that you have to battle along the way that
Yeah.
actually monopolize the whole, you know.
Yeah. We have someone on our team. Her name is Lily. She's fantastic. She's kind of in charge of our legal processes and stuff like that. And so she's done a lot of research with that, and we really appreciate her work in that, because holy smokes, it's a lot of work. But yeah, she's like, hey, there's little things here and there. We can make it work. So we're still looking into it, but yeah, we're optimistic. Absolutely.
That's really cool.
if you saw the price point as well that we had on the previous slide that I showed, we're looking to shoot for like a $2,000 to like $3,500 price range. And so on paper, that sounds like a lot, but the existing solutions that are available right now are from around like $6,000 to $15,000 for a foot, you know? And so if insurance is able to cover something like that and give a prosthetic foot to an amputee for free, then there's no doubt then we would have a very high coverage rate for our feet, and they would be high quality as well. Because you know, when when the when the amputee can't get a prosthetic foot due to like financial struggles, they typically go for a satch foot. And I'm sure you know what a satch foot is, the
Mhm.
solid ankle cushion heel foot.
Right.
And those, yeah, have absolutely no energy return. You know, they just serve as a platform to step on. There's no elasticity at all within that
Yeah.
type of foot. But for ours, you know, but people go for those satch feet because they're inexpensive. You know, it's a last
Sure.
resort if you can't afford anything else. But that's where our prosthetic foot would come in. And so we would be able to supply people with a foot that has energy return. It has an outer shell that is elastic and absorbs energy similar to a spring. When you compress a
Mhm.
spring, it absorbs energy and it wants to return back to its original position. And
Right.
so as people put pressure on the foot after they walk, that material that we're using, those polymers, they're going to want to return back to their position, and it helps you lift up your leg, or it helps you with your next stride. And so that really reduces that fatigue that is such a pain for a lot of amputees, and for an
Yeah, which
affordable price, and
well that
we're
and that's
hoping
huge.
it'll be covered.
Yeah.
And if it's not covered, if you want to buy it directly from us, then it's just $2,000 to $3,500, and so it's very
Yeah.
accessible.
And
So, and you brought up a good point. Like for those people that really just don't get it, like they see us walking around as amputees and they're like, oh, they got it. They probably put it on right there in the hospital after they had their amputation. Like it's amazing. There's such a disconnect on the realities. Why is having a return on that energy so important for an amputee? What does that give them?
Yeah, when you utilize something that has no energy return, you tend to fatigue really fast, and that will limit your quality of life in general. And so, if you can only walk around for like an hour, or if you're working your job and you have to stand for a while, that really limits you and like your capabilities. And so, by having something that has that energy return, you're able to walk for a lot longer of a time. You're able to take more steps, more strides, and by the end of the day, you could take it off, and still you could feel great. You're not fatigued all the time. And aside from just the uncomfort in its own, those Satch feet, they provide a lot of impact and stress up into your spine and your hips, and so you could start seeing like deformations happening on other sides of your body for not having that sort of like soft impact as you step. And so this sort of technology would really help with that long-term fatigue, and also just preserving the rest of your body while being able to walk as well.
So it brings me to my next question. A lot of people will, I mean, two-leggers, Eric, two-leggers will pick a better shoe for trails, a better shoe for running, right? One that gives better return. What you guys are creating, people might say, well, just get a better shoe on.
Hmm.
Is what you're creating, because I don't think of my good foot as one that gives me a lot of return, but is that replicating what we would normally have as anatomically correct return?
That's, that's a great question. Yeah. And I would say it's fairly similar, like we're trying to emulate the soft tissues that you feel in your foot. And even
Mhm.
better, we want to improve that sort of feel when you're barefoot and exceed like the human capabilities of our soft tissues, as if you were wearing like a shoe, like in its own. And so, because like my dad right now, he works construction. And so, like, he's a hardworking man. He's been working for like 30 plus years. And his feet, when he gets home, he's super tired, and he's tried all sorts of things for his feet, having insoles, having better boots, but at the end of the day, it's just like it's very painful. And he's tried soft, very very soft insoles, and they work, like they help, but he gets so tired because you have to balance on that squishy platform as you walk, and so you have to input like more energy if it's softer. So more soft is not necessarily the answer. We have to pinpoint that balance between like having a soft foot and also having a rigid foot that will support you and not fatigue you. And so that's where all this engineering analysis comes into play.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's incredible. I mean it's really cool, and some of those I'm the answers you guys had were great because people don't think about it. They're like just change your shoe because
Hmm.
truly when I asked about the weight of the foot,
Hmm.
people are amazed that when I put on my Hokas versus my hiking boots versus my heels versus my cowboy boots, man, you give me a pair of jeans and cowboy boots, and I feel like I just put on 15 pounds on that leg. And there is no real return. And the just that little bit of change in even gym shoes. My first 20 steps, I'm like readjusting my balance and my gait so that I'm walking back to my normal because
Yeah,
this does even ounces make a
Oh
difference
yeah.
in you're having to throw it through.
yeah, and that's since I can kind of tell you as an athlete, my dad and I did some analysis. We obviously, as an emerging athlete, we went through a lot of different running legs and running feet. And what I first started with was something like a sea leg, like you were talking about, a sea foot, or even better, the catapult had just come out from Freedom Innovations, and so I was using that, and it was just connecting directly to my pre-existing setup. And so it was right on the same pylon and on my regular everyday walking prosthetic. And so we changed from sea leg to the catapult, and the catapult was lighter. It was like 2 or 3 ounces lighter.
Mhm.
And immediately I was per ounce, I was zero point 0.1 or even zero point 0.2 in some cases seconds faster in the 100-meter dash, which is huge because you have people winning 100-meter dashes in hundredths of seconds.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's how important it is. You can kind of think of it like a pendulum, right?
Mhm.
If you, especially for people missing their knee, like you and technically me,
Right. Right.
um,
Yeah.
every ounce below the prosthetic, below the hinge, you can think of it, since you don't have any muscle or anything there actually controlling it, it's dead weight. It's like trying to move a pendulum. If you have the pendulum really close to you, you can just tap it and it'll start moving. But if you
Right.
have the pendulum all the way down here, you tap it, it's
Doesn't go.
difficult to get it to start moving. And you have to have more inertia to get it to
Mhm.
start or stop. Uh, Sorry, there is more inertia there. And so it's
Right.
really difficult. And so that's the thing that a lot of people, like you said, may not completely understand. They say, oh, just change your shoe. It's not the shoe that's the problem. It's there's extra weight, and then there's different ways that the shoe responds. And so absolutely for me, what ended up happening is the other half of my body just completely went out of whack, because what happened was my body was compensating for the
Mhm.
lack of support from that side that was now amputated. And you probably had the same problems. I developed scoliosis on my back on one side because I had so much muscle. My back was doing so much of the work as a kid because I didn't get enough PT and stuff like that as a kid. Nowadays, since I've gone through weight training and I've been training my body quite a bit more, it's a lot easier for me to fix. But at that time when I was a kid, absolutely, there were parts of my body that were not the way they were supposed to be because I was overcompensating to fix that. And so I don't know if you've heard this too, but I hear it all the time as a sprinter. People
Okay.
see me with my running leg with a big C curve, and they,
Hmm.
oh, you must be able to just out jump and outrun everybody as soon as you put that on. Yeah, I can see your eyes. Absolutely. You go, no, what do you
Yeah.
think?
No.
You might have that argument with double amputees because yeah, they don't fatigue after a long period of time because they don't
Right.
have calves and they just kind of bounce all day. But with
Right.
people who are single leg amputees, you could strap a rocket to that leg and it would only help, to get back
As
to the
far
right.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
absolutely, and so that's kind of our effort as well. Is say you're walking on the sidewalk and you step off the sidewalk onto that, the little angled part of the sidewalk. We want our foot to kind of mold to that. Or even if you step on a rock, we don't want your entire knee buckling because you have an electronic knee. We don't
Right.
want it to buckle. And so the foot is actually going to conform around it and then spring back. And so that's the nice thing about the foot that we're making too, is we have those ideas in mind where we're like, hey, even just for the everyday, this is still useful.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring up at your young age about your other side of your body and what happens, because that is a conversation I have with a bunch of women that are my age and have gone through maybe car accidents and stuff too, where their other side is kind of already mangled and struggling. And we have to sit there and we worry about our fit, right? And if it's not fitting correctly, we're putting a lot more weight on this ankle, this knee, this hip. Our back changes, our neck pinches. And as you get older, it does get harder to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Just saying, you hit
Oh
50
no.
and you're like, hey, why do I hurt today? I didn't do it. I went grocery shopping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
sitting there. If I went through Costco and I had not been working out for a while, we start realizing that, God, my knee or we hit stairs, with my leg right now, it's a one step, one step, one
Yeah.
step because I can't
Yeah.
yet. I don't have
You
the
can't
leg
bend
that
it.
comes up, right?
Yeah.
And then going down is the same thing. If I don't trust that I won't slip down the stairs when I'm like barefoot or in a sock on our carpeted stairs here,
Yeah.
I have to go down one at a time. So, we talk a lot about that. And that return, I think, would be really, really helpful in relieving all the muscle that we have to go through and all of the torque on these joints just to stay stable and keep our gait looking nice. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we feel we look good, then at least maybe our hips are aligned. But that takes a lot on my this ankle and this knee. I mean, I'm really focused on glutes in,
Yeah.
tight, tight, and walk straight. Because if I start to
Yeah.
do what I call the penguin walk, I know I'm getting lazy or something's hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. You're getting tired, getting fatigued. You're hurting.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like for me and for you as well, even just a little millimeter out of alignment, and you're like, gosh, everything hurts. You know?
Yes. And I
Yeah.
am so bad that because I'm a skin fit. So when I put it on in the morning, it stays on all day until I get my shower at night. But I can be walking through the grocery store or somewhere and I'm like, ugh, I can tell that I can see peripherally that my toes pointed out maybe a couple millimeters off.
Just a little bit.
And then I'm like really focused. Don't trip, don't stub your toe because it's not really where it needs to. And I will not take it off and redo. I just
Yeah.
won't. I don't want to
Yeah.
spend that
And it sucks
time.
to do that in the middle of a store too. You're like,
Right.
I really need to fix this, but I can't until I go and sit back in my car an
Yeah,
hour
no.
from now.
I will sit there and try to twist my leg because we're in Arizona, right? So it's like if I'm
Yeah.
sweating enough, I might be able to get it to twist.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
it happens. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it wants to twist
Yeah.
really good, especially after I sit down in my car. I get up in my Bronco, a lifted Bronco, and my leg does a little weird twist. And so get down and I'm like, am I still lined up? But that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Now, take me through really quick. Let's wrap this up with
Mm.
I know when I met you guys, the reason I met you is because you were looking for locals that could possibly try the foot. Are you still in that need?
100%. Yeah, yeah. Right now, we have these two prototypes completely fabricated, and they're ready for like engineering analysis. And so, not only do we need like laboratory testing, like recently we put it under a hydraulic press machine, and they have sensors that analyze to a very high precision the amount of force, the amount of millimeters that it's changing. And so we're doing that laboratory testing. But at the end of the day, this is for amputees. Like we need people to feel comfortable using our product. And so we're really trying to evaluate it on a sort of like survey scale where we have them walk. We're collaborating here with a clinic called Prosthetics, and we'll be
Okay.
utilizing their like walk railing to be able to like have our patients successfully and safely also use our product. And so yeah, here in the Colorado area, we're located in Fort Collins, Colorado. And of course, we'd be open to people coming and traveling to visit us over here in the northern Colorado area. And so we're taking as many people who want to try it as possible. We'd be happy to have you guys come try out our foot. And so, yeah, we're doing that. And your evaluation of our foot and our product, your feedback is very, very helpful to us and allows us to continue creating better prosthetic feet.
So this is something done in lab on CSU's web or campus, yes, that you're looking for.
So what's interesting is since we're partnering with Corn Prosthetics, one of the things again we're trying to minimize as little possibility of you being injured, being hurt. Now, obviously,
Mhm.
since we're still in the production part
Mm-hmm.
and the prototype testing area, we
Mm-hmm.
want people to feel as comfortable and as careful as possible. So we actually partnered with Corn Prosthetics because they're just in Windsor. They're not too far away from us. and they're about a half an hour drive. And so we said, hey, would we be able to? And again, you can imagine each individual person has a different setup. And so we need different pylons, we need different parts, we need all of these things. And Quorum said, hey, we can actually do that for you. We can offer those things, and we can offer our testing room where they can walk back and forth, where until they feel comfortable, they can hold on to the bars. Now we've done enough testing. We know these aren't going to break, but even for me, the first time I tried it on, you should have seen me. I looked like an old lady. I was like,
Every time I get something new, I got my new leg back. They had to do a little cleanup because I beat the crap out of my leg, and it came back. And I'm like, I'm going through the parallel bars because you're doing a lot of beeping with my electronics, and I'm not sure what you got going on there. If I'm in bike mode and I try walking, I don't need to collapse. So I get you.
So this will be in a place with a clinician. People will be there to make sure that you are safe and that you feel safe while you're testing. And so we've done enough work there. We've done enough work as well. For me, I've been kind of the lab rat. The nice thing is, if I get hurt, I can't sue my own company. You know, it's all right there. So I've done a lot of the testing. We actually went to, I don't know if you know about Children's Hospital, the CU Anschutz campus at Children's Hospital, Colorado. They actually have in their basement, they have a gait lab, a place where you can actually walk back and forth. There are a couple dozen cameras on either side of you. There's in real time 3D tracking, and there are force plates in the ground, and there are other things like that. And I ended up going through that. We ended up seeing the response from the foot. I actually sprinted on the foot. I jumped up and down on the foot. So we have all of that information, and we've since refined the foot a little bit. But even our first prototype that we tested far exceeded their expectations. I was actually trying to break it, and I looked at Eric, and I'm like, dude, I'm disappointed. I couldn't break the foot. What the heck?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, when you look at it, because obviously that's the trust factor, right? That a lot of amputees struggle with is trusting their product.
yeah,
And so I could
absolutely.
totally see that. And you're like 3D printing, like 3D
Yeah,
printing for me is those silly little
yeah,
things made of plastic that you could literally,
right.
back in the good old days when it first came out. So it was hard when I talked to Eric. I'm like, I couldn't wrap my head around, can I really like hike, 8 miles in this and not shred it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really the disconnect is there's 3D printing like that you can do at home with your printer. And that's good and dandy, and it's good place to start. But it is not a final thing. So what we've actually our end product or end result that we've made
Mhm.
is very, very high quality. It's going to be up there with those top manufacturing companies like Osher and Autobot
Yeah.
because of the engineering that has actually gone into it. And that's the nice thing about working with 4 other engineers is we all had to put our minds together and be like, look, we have to put this to a factor of 2, or sorry, not a factor of 2, a factor of 4. Like it has to be able to take somebody's body weight times 4 and still not break. It has to be able to take their body weight when they're running and jumping times 4 and still not break in order for it to be safe for someone. So we've gone through that, and we're still obviously doing some smoothing out of things, but
Sure.
like I said at the very beginning, I'm astonished at how far we've come as just a single year team to be able to make a working and functioning foot that even I feel safe on, because I'm like you, I break things.
Yeah.
I've actually snapped. I think it wasn't a sea leg, but it was a flex foot. I snapped an Osher flex foot in half when I was biking, and I was like, yikes! Yeah, we don't want that.
No.
Now, obviously, I'm really rough on my prosthetics.
Yeah.
I used to do like 7 different sports when I was a kid, so
Yeah.
uh, the fact that I felt pretty comfortable on it to that it would be able to hold me on whatever I wanted to do is encouraging. But obviously, we'll do some more testing on it and make sure it's up there and where we want to be. But we're excited, and we think that when people test it, they'll also be excited. They'll be able to say, "You did this. as kids, as growing adults getting into it in a very competitive market. You did it for
Very
half the
competitive.
cost. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. Have you ever seen a bill, an itemized bill from your prosthetics firm that you go to?
Hmm.
And we're not going to name names. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen an itemized list where you say, hey, you paid this much for this part, this much for this part, and this is how much the foot cost?
Yeah. No, you know what, I haven't, and I go to a small two-guy company.
Yeah.
It's their own company that they
Mm,
now do their own nonprofit.
good
So
for them.
I can't complain because they've given me a free surf leg that we created together. Because
Wow.
Absolutely.
there's no surf legs on the market. It's
No, there isn't.
you piecemeal it together. They also
Mm.
gave me a beach leg with their parts, so I could
Oh,
actually get out on the world with my family, and do
yeah.
that.
That's awesome.
So they've
Good for
always
them.
been really, really good about just giving me what they have, and they're just such great guys. So I have
Awesome.
not, but there's been
Yeah.
a lot of things that they have not charged me for. So I am a lucky one.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what our company also wants to change is when we sell our feet, you're going to see the price of it. We're
Yeah,
going to tell you upfront what you're paying for
yeah,
because that needs to change in the market right now.
right.
Is when you buy and even with your guys, they're really good to you, but uh, even even them until they order you the part, they don't know how much they have to pay for your feet. And so that's
Well,
the
no,
hard thing is there's
right.
nothing available. It's not transparent at all.
No, it's like, oh, it's 60,000, 100,000 for that
Yeah.
kind of leg. And it just
Hmm.
depends on what insurance will cover, what that company wants to rock it up because insurance and coverage. And then your guys have to make some sort of money with what they're doing. Their service isn't free. So, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
like markup to markup to markup just to compete in the world. It's,
Exactly. And
it's
that's
absolutely insane, the cost of, and then the fact that the no is the first and foremost answer of insurance companies. No.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's immediate. Like, do you need this? Do you need it to live? No. It's like,
I
well,
know.
you're asking me not to be active in my daily life. That's crazy.
Which will put
Um,
me in the doctor's office more, which will make it's there's gonna be
yeah,
bad things that happen from that.
absolutely. But that's one of the things I also wanted to bring up is anytime if we become a company, what we want is transparent pricing. So if you
Hmm.
decide, hey, I want to buy this for myself, or I want to even with insurance, I want to buy it with insurance, you're going to know the cost of that before you even go to manufacturing the leg. So usually how it works is you just get a bill from your prosthetist with
Hmm.
just how much the leg cost. And so what we would do is we would say, hey, if you're a prosthetist and you're selling this, please show them our website, show them what they're getting into and the cost of it. And what you are going to cost, and then obviously how much the prosthetics company that is going to be manufacturing it for you has to mark it up. They will show all that. That way hey, like for me, when I bought my last foot, I kind of nudged my prosthetist. Sorry, I kind of
Yeah.
nudged him. I'm like, hey, by the way, how much, like, estimate it out for me without insurance? Just how much is this foot? How much does it cost? And I have a fill hour foot that I love. It's
Hmm.
a fantastic foot, and I love wearing it all the time. It's anyway. He was like, yeah, it's 7 to 9, and I went that much just for the foot, and I was like, if it's 7 to 9, how much of that? Because I'm not going to go too far into it, but
Right.
say we're covering 10% because the insurance company is either covering 10,000 or 90% of it, and
Right.
we're on the hook for $1,700 or so. I was like, if
Right.
I change my foot, how much does that change the price? And he's like, not much. And I'm like, why is that? Like, and I was like, what's the markup here? I'm not sure what's going on. And
Right.
so that's the thing that we really struggled with. And we're like, look, we want to be transparent because if you end up buying one of our high end feet, you need to know what you're paying for. And so
Exactly.
that's what we're hoping to change. But
I love
obviously, we'll be working on that too because Lily's our
Right.
gal that we go to. So
I love
she's
that.
going to
No,
be
that's great.
implementing it.
So let's wrap this up with Eric. Tell us where can people reach you if they are interested in coming out to see you guys and give it a try?
No, that's an excellent question. We currently have a company email where we accept all sorts of communications. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to participate in our trial studies. And so the email is going to be mediflex.co@outlook.com, which is mediflex.co@outlook.com.
Excellent. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on. This is incredible. And I hope that sometime I can get out there and actually take a look or maybe one day buy your product that you're
There we
going to
go.
be
Yeah.
successfully putting out in the world. I
We
appreciate
love
your
that.
time. Thank you so much for coming on and
Thank you for having
best
us.
wishes for everything.
Thank you very much, Angie. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, always.
And where do we watch your videos at? You have a YouTube and a
I do.
yeah.
I have, yes, and I have the YouTube channel, Be a Warrior or Be a Warrior 360, and also on pretty much every streaming platform for podcasts that you can imagine. So yes,
Right.
and I will definitely make sure that our links get into the write-up. All right.
Perfect. Yeah. That
Excellent.
sounds great.
Thanks, guys.